People, this week we've got Michael Parker of A Band of Brothers.
A Band of Brothers community was set up in Brighton, mentoring, as I say, young men aged 18 to 25 involved in or at risk of being involved in the criminal justice system. It's that young man who finds himself thrust into a challenging situation and has to learn the ways of maturely facing that. We're kind of rebuilding something that our society hasn't had for a long time. What would a rite of passage involve? And we're aware of our limitations in that. The young men aren't always ready for that. So we've done various things to help young men be ready for it. Now we have a one-to-one mentoring cycle. We work with men for community.
Michael, nice to meet you.
Nice to see you too.
And thanks for becoming a guest on the What's Going On show. I'm quite excited for this one. And so the What's Going On show is the show where we shine the light on people doing things in communities. And A Band of Brothers is not just doing something in a small community, it's doing something on a large scale. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're going to find a bit about today. But first, little tradition I got on this show is instead of me giving you an introduction, I like to just throw it straight over to you. So, who in a nutshell is Michael Parker?
Who am I? Well, I'm here as South East Regional Lead for A Band of Brothers. But what else am I? I'm a poet, I'm a performer, a teacher, a mentor, a husband, a dad. I was conductor of the Brighton Band of Brothers community. I've been part of the Band of Brothers for 13 years. I'm a Brummie living in Brighton, a mountain lover as well. Well, I love being up in the mountains. So that's plenty of the things that I am.
Love that. Okay, cool. So diving in then. So we'll get to A Band of Brothers. But first about you then. So you said there that you're all these things.
Yeah.
But when you was growing up, what type of person were you in school?
A nerd. What was it they used to call me? A stiff. So that was someone who was compliant with with what the teachers were asking of me, I liked it. I liked learning. I liked learning. I liked being at school. I found it hard to fit in with the male hierarchy based on like who could beat up who. And I didn't want to be part of that. And because of that, being a tall person who they knew wasn't going to fight back, I got picked on a bit as someone. People who wanted to be part of that hierarchy knew that they could score a few points by beating up the big kid, but knowing that they were safe because I wasn't going to hit them back. So I was a little bit miserable for a while because of that stuff going on. Went proper into my shell. Just was a quiet loner for a bit. And then, that all loosened up a little bit later. As I got to 16 or 17 and discovered ways, healthy and not so healthy, of releasing myself and expressing myself.
Nice. Well, okay. Expressing yourself then.
Yeah.
You said healthy, not so healthy. Talk us through.
Alcohol was a big one. I suddenly found that with a bit of booze in me, this quiet loner was quite expressive, loud, and entertaining. kind of person, and I liked that. I liked the fact that here we go. There's a cart load of beer going past us now. I liked being someone that people would tell stories of, and even if that was something a little bit silly, so I liked that. And then when I got to 18, my heroes were also people who'd taken not very healthy routes, but had created some amazing things. The rock stars, and I wanted to be a rock star, and I'd get up on a mic and perform, and lubricated by the booze and occasional smoke, and had a blues band, and then I had a rock band, and then when I came to Brighton I had an electro band, and I had a funk band, and then I had a little folk duo, and then my folk guitar partner, he left the country, went off to Spain. I was left without a band, but still writing loads, and I took my words down to a poetry night, and discovered I was a poet.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow, so you discovered you're a poet.
Yeah.
And so you left music behind. Is that what it was?
No. It's actually, I'm coming back to it. It's I performed a lot of poetry for many years, but I love setting my poetry with music now as well. I've got a mate who's got a band based in Birmingham called Einstellung that mix kraut rock and indie noise, and a bit of Black Sabbath vibes as well. Okay. I put some of my words over their noise, and created this piece about the mountains, Alpinists it's called. I love that. Einstellung.
Nice. So you love the mountains?
Yep.
Why?
My dad loved the mountains. He took me to the mountains when he was young. When I was young. It was a real physical expression for me. Just that, the drive of getting up and getting my hands on the rock, and getting up there, and it being an exposed and adventurous place, and being present as well. I'm very present in the mountains, while here, and from day to day, there's all sorts of concerns, things that have happened in the past, things that I'm worried about in the future. All the different things that need to keep ticking over in my life. In the mountains, all that's important is that foot there and that foot there, and putting my hand there, and if I put my foot there, that would roll, and if I go too far over there, I'm on the dangerous slope. So I become very present in the mountains, and around that there's the beauty, the beauty of the wild, and there's the in-your-faceness of nature. Sometimes literally in your face, being blasted by rain, hail, snow in your face, and sometimes that the in-your-face nature of the glory of the space as well.
I get it. If you could give up everything today and go and live in the mountains, would you do it?
That's a really interesting question. Because there still are all sorts of other concerns. I mean, by give up everything, I'm giving up being with my wife and my children.
In this scenario, you can choose to take them with you.
So, so that would involve a little bit of family negotiation. But I mean, I have thought about it, but the compromising the range of needs of the family. I still want to be somewhere wild. I think we'll head out to Dorset, near the coast, in a few years' time, and not the mountains, but the wild.
The wild. Okay, being present in the wild, like that. So, you said you were a teacher.
Yeah.
When you left school, you went into this, your music side, so your hobbies, if you will, your passion.
Mm-hmm.
Did you always know you was going to be a teacher?
Yeah, I thought I was. I thought that was my career path. I went to university and then did a teacher training course. So at the same time as the wild part of me was being a wild rock star in my head, the straight and narrow part of me was getting my teaching qualification, and then worked for a couple of years in a school in Coventry, and then the wild took over again for a bit, and went off to India and Nepal, and worked in an outdoor pursuit centre in Mumbai, and trekked up to Everest Base Camp and stuff like that. So actually, I think I've ebbed and flowed between times and places of responsibility and times and places of letting go into the wild.
I see. What did you teach, by the way?
Geography.
Okay. Nice.
The wild. Yeah. And the world. I mean, I that was what I was fascinated by how the world works. So teaching geography, and now I'm back in teaching, but part of time, and I'm teaching wild boys, boys who've had early life trauma, who are struggling with their social, emotional, and mental health needs. And I'm still doing the geography, but I'm able to take them to where geography is. Geography out of a book can be boring, but geography, by going and finding where a spring is, where the water comes out of the mountain, out of the we're surrounded by chalk here, where the water comes out of the chalk. I'm excited by that, and I like to share that excitement of how the world works. But I'm also teaching science, but also in a similar way. Bangs and explosions and that kind of chemistry, and outdoorsy stuff, and lighting fires, cooking on the fires, making things, building things. We're sat next to a pizza oven. I made a pizza oven at school, got the boys to build it from the ground up. It's not very good at the moment, so I was looking at that one and saying, how does that one work? It does. My pizza oven burns the bottom of the pizza and leaves it doughy on the top. So there are a few tweaks to make. But I love being outdoors. It's no surprise I'm being filmed outdoors in a way. Shivering a little bit. It's got a little bit colder this afternoon. But that's what I do.
No, fair enough. So, with the school kids that you work with now, you said that they have learning needs, or needs?
They're all. It's a school for boys with social, and emotional, and mental health needs, and they struggle to be in mainstream school. There's all sorts of stuff that they kick against, and it's not surprising considering some of the shit that's happened to them in in their early childhood.
No, I get that.
So we provide hopefully a more child-centred and therapeutic educational setting for them.
I get it. No, the reason I asked that was because obviously you've worked in mainstream school, if you want
Yeah,
to call
yeah.
it that. What would you say the reality is that people don't know about to understand these kids with these complex needs?
That's a really interesting question. Um, it's really easy for people to see things on a surface level and not know that everybody's actions have a backstory. That that our experiences, and particularly our early life experiences, have shaped the way that we act in the world. I think a lot of people find it easier to put to think of people that are different to them as other, and just see the surface stuff. They see the behaviours, but don't see the person. And it takes effort. It takes effort and time to go beyond seeing someone's behaviour and seeing the person behind it with their gold and with their shadow, the nasty stuff that comes up, but also what's special about an individual. And basically, I think a lot of the structures in our society are not set up to have the time and space to do that, to see the person. And when I was teaching in mainstream school, I'd have 45 minutes teaching 30 kids, and then on to the next 30 kids, and then on to the next 30 kids, and then on to the next 30 kids. So teaching, what's that, 180 kids in a day. How was I supposed to know their individual story and them as individuals? Hopefully what I managed to do there was just create a feeling of welcoming them as individuals. Though I couldn't, I couldn't know them in that great depth. When I found this work, it was much more my kind of thing. Okay. And as I said, I like being in the wild. I've also enjoyed working with the wild boys. Yeah. I'm able to know them enough to work with them, working with these boys who have some of the biggest struggles.
Fair enough. So, how then did you start working with a band of brothers?
It was a dad that I'd meet at the school gates, him dropping off his door to me, dropping off mine, and we'd chat at that point, and he said, I think you'd fit well in a band of brothers. I think you'd be a good mentor, and so I went along to meet them, and then went to a rites of passage weekend, which is something I'll tell you more about. That's a really important part of the Band of Brothers process, and it was like walking into the Castle of the Grail. This was what I'd been waiting for, a community that would be that welcoming, that open, that free of expression, a place where I could grow, work on myself, develop my maturity, and have mission, be there for people who need it most, what this group of men had decided was the people who need it most where young men involved in the criminal justice system, or at risk of being involved in the criminal justice system, there was and is a massive amount of important work to do there.
There is. So, a band of brothers.
Yep.
Talk me through it then. So, what is a band of brothers then?
So, it started 16 years ago in Brighton. A group of men had been on a weekend, a rites of passage weekend with a group called the Mankind Project. And they came back thinking, oh, that's great. I feel a bit grown. I feel like I have made some progress here in my life, but everyone should have something like this. And as I was saying, there are some particularly vulnerable and in difficulty in our society that could really do with it. So they said, right, okay, I'm not just going to say, do my self-development and thank you very much, I'm off. It was having done that, it's like, right, let's make something happen in our community. So the first A Band of Brothers community was set up in Brighton, mentoring, as I say, young men aged 18 to 25 involved in or at risk of being involved in the criminal justice system. And it was 3 years later that I found about it. So, 13 years ago, I, as I say, went through my rites of passage weekend, did some big work on some of the stuff that was getting in the way of me being the man that I want to be. There's a recognition, I think, that in our society there's often an extended adolescence in young men in particular. An intact culture might have a rites of passage that the boys, the young men, would know that this was going to be part of their growing up, a point where they'd be taken away from the village, face some kind of danger, some challenge, face even death. That's not something we do on our rites of passage weekend. It's there are a few restrictions these days, but then having faced that, would come back transformed in a way, and would know that before that I was a boy, now I'm a man, and being a man in my community has certain responsibilities and expectations, and for me, going through that was that recognition of, yes, I have had an extended adolescence. I have not fully stepped up into my maturity, my responsibility, a place where I'm self-aware enough to know when I need to hold myself accountable, to have some skills in conflict resolution, finding ways of growing and moving forward in life. So after doing my weekend, trained as a mentor, ready to mentor, was given my first mentee. We'd meet up once a week and look at what was going on for him, in work, relationships, addiction, the trouble that he was finding himself in, and then I circle up with our community once a week, and we build the strength, both of us, as individuals and as a group. And then once the young men have gone through their rites of passage weekend, again, they're part of the ongoing community, receiving what we might call community mentoring as well as the one-to-one mentoring. And that's pretty much what we still do. There's been a few little tweaks on on what's involved in the rites of passage. Basically, we're aware that we're kind of rebuilding something that our society hasn't had for a long time, and so we're borrowing bits from here and bits from over there, and saying what would a rite of passage involve, and we're aware of our limitations in that, because it doesn't have the depth of connection in our society, but we're giving it a shot. And also we're aware that young men aren't always ready for that. So we've done various things to help young men be ready for it. Now we have a one-to-one mentoring cycle before the weekend, as well as afterwards, just to gradually build up the trust, so they're ready to do their work.
Interesting. So a rite of passage, then, kind of explain it there, but in your opinion, what is the perfect rite of passage?
Ours.
Nice.
It's how we structure it, and I'm not going to tell you everything, because there's part of it is the mystery.
Yeah.
You know, part of it is, and that mystery. I'm not hiding anything because it's because it shouldn't be done. I'm hiding it so that when a young man or an older man, because there are older men also go through the same rite of passage, comes to the weekend, they don't know quite what to expect, and quite how they're going to be challenged, but challenged to ultimately to look at themselves. I'm going to tell you some bits of it. Basically, over the weekend we tell a story. It's a hero's journey story. It's, you know, one of the stories that George Lucas based Star Wars on. You know, that young man who finds himself thrust into a very challenging situation, and has to learn the ways of maturely facing that, which involves looking into your own shadow as well. And we find that the way that we do it creates a space of trust. It has to be grounded in trust. And just as this story tells of the way that a man was parented, the tale of a mother and father, and of seeing something that shone bright and said, I want to be that, like me and being a rock star. I want to be that. Young men find themselves just telling their tale. This was what my mum was like, this was what my dad was like, this was what I saw and I thought I wanted to be that, and this was the trouble I got in by following that. And that's, we go through that story over the weekend, and then get to see what's getting in the way of being the man that you want to be.
Okay. So in other cultures, I've found out recently, in fact, that in some African cultures, I think it's about 15 to 16, they have their rite of passage, where they literally do what you said there. They send them out to a village, or they send them out from the village, and they have that experience. But what age would you say in this country should be the age that we go on this rite of passage?
Well, we choose 18 to 25. I see how in an intact culture it could be younger than that. 14 to 16 is as you're approaching your physical maturity. If most of your activity is going to be based on your physical maturity, then taking the responsibility for that, that's an important part of the transition. Go back to the very start of this interview, and when I was talking about the hierarchy of boys in the school, boys reaching that physical maturity at different times, and the power structures that involved. If at that point someone had taken the boys and said, right, okay, with this physical maturity that you're coming into comes a whole load of responsibilities and the need to protect and support each other. That would be healthy. As I say, we have I see a lot of extended adolescence, and I think there are a lot of things in our society that do prolong that. I think that there are a lot of young men that wouldn't be able to access it at 16, and sometimes on the younger end of the young men that we work with, that childlikeness is there, with armours and shells on top of that. So that's what works for us.
Okay. So
and there's an important part of that is the having enough emotional maturity to say, I choose this. Because we can't work with young men who don't feel that they're choosing to go through this. You can't be forced to grow. You have to want to grow, and so which again requires a certain amount of experience and an amount of emotional maturity to say, yes, I'm gonna go into a place where I'll be challenged, but I think it will be good for me.
Interesting. So, what do you think prolongs that childlikeness in young men in this country?
It's interesting because a lot of people have a lot of different stories about it. Gareth Southgate this week gave a really interesting and powerful lecture about it, and I'm wary to diagnose some of the and ascribe reasons, because each of these things can be demonized. So yes, the amount of time someone spends staring at their phone and receiving algorithmed reflections of themselves that doesn't allow going beyond where one already thinks that they are, can be restrictive. I know I also love my social media and both for a kind of recreational exploration, for staying connected with friends, and for communicating events and activities, and there's also the inwardness of a screen world of gaming, and that can be a trap into not being in the real world. On the other hand, there's lots of skills in games that are transferable into a world beyond the screen, and if it's how some people learn to connect, even in a virtual space, how you learn to be part of a team with shared mission, then so be it. But all of these things can be traps, and money, and again is a thing in society that it's got harder for young people to access the money required for independent living. How hard is it for a young person to get property?
Yeah, it's near enough impossible, isn't it?
Yeah. To get a job that pays beyond the minimum wage, to access further education without racking up debt, without how to access some of the things I'm talking about, with how to access the digital world without your monthly payments to the servers. It's so if you haven't got access to that, if there aren't the jobs that provide access to that, if there isn't access to the education that allows you to think beyond, well, there are easier ways, or seemingly easier ways, to put a roll of notes in your pocket. So yeah, very very easy to follow what seems an easy path.
Yeah, discussion topic there. Okay, so back on. All right, so cool. A band of brothers then. That's what they do for men, adolescents, and men. Do you not focus on women as well?
There are lots of different organisations working for different specialised groups. I think I think that we've got a specialism. There are some who come from a place of, right, men don't have stuff in this society. We need to we've lost out to some of the forces that have empowered women. Personally, I see it as men's work is built on the groundwork of feminism. Feminism said, right, okay, there are women-specific issues that need addressing in our society, and they are not being addressed. We demand that they are addressed, and that work's not done. But there's been some progress. And I think there's also some learning that's come from that, of men looking at themselves and going, whoa, there are some men-specific issues that need looking at and addressing, and we're going to make it happen, that those issues are addressed. And that's one of the things that we do in a band of brothers. It benefits all of society. when we talked about the rites of passage and the going away from the village, then the next important bit is the coming back and reintegrating with the community. And reintegrating with the community, you're going to be integrating with a mix of genders and a mix of people. So we have a homecoming. We end our quest cycle with a gathering of the people of the young men, the mums, dads, guardians, social workers, probation workers, their cousins and brothers and sisters, and they come and see a young man declare, what he's faced and where he's at. And we see families saying, that's our boy, he's back. And we see partners who've had, struggling relationships, saying, he's there for me and he's there for our kids. And we don't fear him. So our work is we work with men for community. One of my greatest joys in the work is when we have that homecoming, and those that were struggling to keep hope in that man, have that hope rekindled and express their joy.
That's nice. Do you ever have a moment where, after the reintegration, after they're put back into society or their community, do you ever get a relapse? Do you ever find relapses?
Yeah. That's life.
I mean, right. I mean, the reason I was asking that is, how do a band of brothers then get involved when that might happen?
So, firstly, we're setting out the structure of support. So we've got the weekly circle, whatever's going on for a man can come to that. We can do some personal work there, and sometimes it's just saying what's going on. Okay, let's keeping a little check on what's going on. It's possible to ask for another set of mentoring. It's like, hold on, I'm still struggling. I need that kind of support that I've been getting until I feel a bit more on my feet. So the network is there, the foundation of support is there, and then sometimes it's stuff lingering from before. I was working with a young man last week who he's been with us for a year, but was then going to court for something he did before he was with us, and he came to the circle the day before he went back into court, saying, I think I'm going to be going inside. I just need to prepare myself. And he did a powerful piece of work, which was about him not seeing himself as the victim. That was, I think what he needed to do to prepare for that possibility. And we're there for him, and someone will, some situations, someone will turn up in court. We can give we can give a report back on someone and say, look, this young man's made a lot of progress, and here's what we're seeing in him. You're going to court to look at the bad stuff that's happened, But alongside that, here's the good stuff that we've seen in this man. There, we stay in touch. There are another bit that was really important to me is not just the men who turn up every week, those who've decided, right, okay, I'm staying connected with this community, but some who've been away for 2-3 years and then turn up on a Thursday night because they know we'll be there and say, shit, I've got myself into trouble again, but they know we're there. You know, they know we're there in support. And yeah, and for some men, it's like, you know, whatever support you're putting in place, there's going to be further trouble. And I hope that in the time with us, we've given them some skills, some self-awareness, some ability to hold themselves accountable, some skills in conflict resolution, that come the time they need it, they've got stuff that we've skilled them up with to draw upon.
Big stuff. So, a band of brothers. What's the future looking like?
The future is, at the moment we're consolidating. We had an expansion. We went from, we started off in Brighton, and then we opened up a community in Crawley, Eastbourne, Hastings, Portsmouth. 3 communities now in Cornwall, Oxford, Leamington Spa, Manchester, Bristol, and it's an interesting kind of spread. And I think that the main reason we've got that kind of like unique spread is basically if you've been in a band of brothers, you know that it's needed. If you move off somewhere else, and it's like, oh, I've got a band of brothers here, right? I'll start a band of brothers. Yeah. And that was in a kind of like expansive phase, and then it's like, right, hold on, let's make sure we're resourced to deliver. And that's where we're at the moment. Are we all resourced to deliver? And I'm feeling that growing, I'm feeling that strengthening in the communities here in the southeast. Each of the communities is strengthening, looking stronger. And what's happening now is we're starting to connect up with other communities doing good work and working in partnership. Sussex Pathways also do excellent work, working with people who've been in prison and finding ways forward with them. So yeah, working alongside Sussex Pathways, Turning Tides is another great Sussex charity, connecting up with homeless charities, and the rehab charities and the groups covering a whole range of needs, and making stronger connections with probation and prison as well. Along with Sussex Pathways, we're hoping to develop a program that works with a man in the prison, coming out through the gate and out into the community. A lot of issues that we've seen are young men coming out of prison and having nothing to support them. It's like, well, where can I live? Well, I'll sleep on my mate's sofa. Where can I get money? If you want there's a little job you can do down at the park for me. I'm back inside. So it's providing support so that that doesn't happen, and providing the opportunity. Because I say, a young man needs to have chosen not to get back into that cycle. So I want to take up the opportunities that are open to me, but we're there to provide those opportunities. So partnership. There will come another expansion time, I think. Everywhere should have a band of brothers. And now's timely as well. There's some Gareth Southgate's talking about how we're failing young men. It's stuff that's happening now, and we're part of providing solutions. Some restructuring of the prison and the wider criminal justice system, and how we provide rehabilitative services. That's happening now. There's some progressiveness under the radar in that world, and we're well placed to be offering our work.
At the front of it. Well, Michael, that brings us to a lovely close, I think. And it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you for sharing your story and what Band of Brothers do. I look forward to hearing more and seeing what comes next. But yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's a wrap. Part 2 is already been done. Are you aware of part 2 at all?
Nope.
Great. Okay, so part 2 is where we go out into a community and we ask a question about some of the topics that are covered by a Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
And so we went out into the streets of Portsmouth and we asked a question. So we're going to watch that now. We're going to get your reaction, see what your feedback is.
Okay.
You can stop it at any time, or we can wait to the end. But whatever you feel free. And yeah, let's see what's going on.
Okay.
So, what do you think should be done with ex-prisoners? What support do you think should be given to them?
I actually have no clue.
So, what support do you think should be given to ex-prisoners?
I think they need a good rehabilitation program to be reintroduced into society, because if you just throw them in, like, they're used to a different lifestyle. So yeah, I just think they just need a lot of help to get back into society and like learn the new ways, depending how long they've been in prison for.
That's fair. Thank you. And
yeah, absolutely the same thing she said.
what help do you think should be given to ex-prisoners?
Yeah, also again, it's that really important that people that come outside of prison are given as much support and a chance to kind of to make a new life for themselves. So whether that be accommodation or training, education, then something like that.
What support do you think should be given to ex-prisoners?
Help with like rehabilitating. I don't know.
What do you mean by rehabilitating?
Like rehabilitating, like once they're out into society.
What would you do? What's your suggestion?
Weekly check-ins. Have them in like a mandatory support group. See if they're coping coming from prison, being like in a confined environment in like society.
Okay, interesting. What about yourself?
Give them like prep before they come out as well, in terms of maybe changes depending on how long they've been in prison for. Society, a lot of things change, so when they come out, so that they can be more prepared, and it's not a thing of they're coming out and it's as though I've just entered a new world type thing. So something like that can help them to ease out a bit more and actually find ways to get back into society. Like you were saying, communities as well. So even locating and helping them find them and positioning them, that will help them.
Cool. So that was the question we asked. What are your thoughts?
My first thought is it's a real joy to hear supportive words like that. Often I hear the words that say, lock 'em up. And forget about them. They're bad people that have done bad things, so we don't need to care about them anymore. You asked a question there, and there were people giving considered answers. Using the word rehabilitation, the fact that has now become a word that people know, that's been communicated, and it's been over the years by several organisations. We've got to thank AA and NA for part of that. Rehabilitation. I'm glad that it's a word that people know. And I'm glad that it was placed in terms of an offer, a gift. They're saying, give them, give them this opportunity. I'm glad that people are saying that something needs to be given to them, not just taken away, not just their freedom taken away and their privileges taken away, but there is still the need to give to people who found themselves in difficult situations. There are a couple of words that made me think. Mandatory. Should there be? We circle up. Should there be mandatory circling up? It would be a different thing. It would be with a different attitude. I don't think we'd work there's a way that said, if probation said you've got to go and do a Band of Brothers rites of passage for to get your complete freedom, we'd just be a branch of the feds then, wouldn't we? That's not going to build the trust to do the work, the deep work that the young men do with the Band of Brothers. On the other hand, it's been mandatory for them to be inside. There can be a transition of, a tag is a mandatory transition into society, but I don't think our work and the way we do things and the circling up that we do, I wouldn't want that to be happening as part of the mandatory package. We've actually developed better relationships with prison and probation recently. There are rites of passage weekend that we're doing in 2 weeks' time. We've managed to get concessions on some of the young men that are on a tag, and have said, we can take the curfew off for the weekend because we know that they're going to be doing good work. So in that transition between mandatory and freely chosen, so but those are the questions. That was someone asking about someone coming up with a possibility. Great. I'm glad that people are coming up with possibilities, because that means we've got allies. We've got people that we can partner with, and good to hear the support of women.
Nice close. I was going to ask about, people being forgiven and lock them up, but you literally addressed that, so that was probably my question.
Yeah.
No, but okay, amazing. So, Michael, that was the question in the street. That was what's going on. Without sounding cliche, but amazing. I've really enjoyed today, and any final words on the video? Any final words?
Final words are thank you. Thank you for inviting me on here. Thank you for a great set of questions, opening up what it is that I do and what it is that we do. For anyone watching this, if you're interested, get in touch.
Amazing. But Michael, that gives us to a nice close, and I look forward to seeing